The family mediator asked if I had anything to add after Jennifer spent 40 minutes explaining how I was emotionally unavailable and she needed space to find herself. I slid a blue binder across the table, 142 pages, chronologically organized, every hotel, every deleted text I'd recovered, every girl's night that was actually a weekend with her married boss. Her mother started crying before she even opened it. If you've got some time and maybe something strong to drink, settle in. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't just about catching a cheating wife, it's about watching someone rewrite history in real time, staying silent while they turn you into the villain, and then letting the truth do what truth does best. Show up at exactly the right moment and burn down every lie they've built. So why did I wait 5 months to drop that binder? Why did I let her tell everyone I was the problem, while I had proof she'd been sleeping with her boss for a year and a half? Because sometimes the best revenge isn't making noise. It's letting someone dig their own grave while you stand there with a shovel, waiting. This story starts way before that mediation room. It starts with pancakes on a Saturday morning, a hotel key card in a coat pocket, and me being stupid enough to think that ignoring problems would make them go away. It ends with me learning that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is let the truth speak when everyone else is lying. Let me take you back to where this really started. If you'd asked me 2 years ago whether my marriage was solid, I would have said yes without hesitation. Not enthusiastically, maybe. Not with the starry-eyed conviction of newlyweds, but with the quiet confidence of someone who'd built a life with another person, brick by brick, year by year. That's how good the lie was. Or maybe that's how good I was at ignoring the parts that didn't fit the story I wanted to believe. I met Jennifer in 2014 in a corporate accounting course of all places. One of those professional development things where companies send employees to pad their resumes. She was the ambitious one, always raising her hand, always staying after class to network with the instructor. I was the steady one, the guy who showed up on time, took good notes, and left quietly. We got paired for a group project about tax optimization strategies, which is about as romantic as it sounds, and somehow we ended up getting drinks afterward. She was different from anyone I'd dated before. Driven, confident. She knew exactly where she wanted to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I found it attractive, that certainty. I was more of a let's see what happens kind of person, and she made me feel like maybe I should want more. Expect more. Be more. We got married in 2016, small ceremony, mostly her family. Her parents paid for everything, which I appreciated at the time. Linda, her mom, had very specific ideas about what a wedding should look like, and I figured it was easier to let her have it. Looking back, I wonder if that's where it started, me learning that it was easier to go along than to push back, that if I just stayed quiet and pleasant, everything would be fine. The first few years were good, really good, honestly. We both climbed our respective career ladders. She went into marketing at a tech company that was small then but growing fast. I stayed in accounting at a regional firm, made senior accountant by 32. We bought a house in a good school district, even though we didn't have kids yet. We took weekend trips to wine country. We hosted dinner parties where Jennifer made elaborate charcuterie boards, and I mixed old-fashioned cocktails that everyone complimented. Then Emma was born in August of 2018, and everything shifted in ways I didn't recognize as a problem until it was way too late. Jennifer's career was demanding. I got that. I respected it. The tech industry moves fast, and if you're not constantly pushing, you get left behind. So, when Emma came along and someone needed to be the primary parent, I stepped up. I thought that's what partners did. Division of labor. She brings in the bigger paycheck and the health insurance. I handle the daycare drop-offs and the midnight fevers. I did maybe 70% of the childcare, maybe 80. Jennifer would come home at 7 or 8, usually after Emma was already in bed, and I'd have dinner waiting. She'd eat quickly, scroll through her phone, maybe ask about Emma's day without really listening to the answer, then say she needed to prep for a morning meeting. On weekends, she'd sleep in while I made Emma pancakes and took her to the park. I told myself this was temporary, that once Jennifer made VP, things would calm down, that she'd have more time then. I should have seen it for what it was, but I didn't. Because seeing it would have meant admitting that the partnership I thought we had was actually me doing 90% of the work while she pursued her ambitions. And admitting that would have made me the kind of guy who resents his wife for being successful, which I didn't want to be. So I just kept making pancakes and telling myself we were a team. The red flags started showing up around early 2022, maybe late 2021. Little things that didn't mean anything individually, but added up to something I couldn't quite name. She got a new boss after her company merged with a larger firm, Richard Thompson, VP of Marketing. I heard his name more than I heard mine at that point. Richard thinks we should pivot the Q3 strategy. Richard says I have real leadership potential. Richard took the whole team out for drinks last night. At first, I thought it was nice she had a supportive boss. Then I noticed she'd bring him up, even when I hadn't asked. We'd be watching TV and she'd randomly say something like, "Richard made the funniest comment in our stand-up today." I'd wait for her to elaborate. She never did. There were other things. Her phone habits changed. It used to just sit on the kitchen counter while we had dinner. Then it started going everywhere with her. Bathroom, bedroom, even when she went to grab something from her car. And it was always face down now. Always. She joined an expensive gym in January 2023. Suddenly cared a lot about how she looked in a way she hadn't since our wedding. New workout clothes, new hairstyle, started talking about prioritizing self-care and investing in herself. I supported it, told her she looked great, and she did look great. I just didn't realize I wasn't the audience for it. One Saturday in February, I was reviewing our credit card statement because that's what accountants do even at home. I saw a charge for $450 from her gym. It wasn't the monthly membership. That was separate. This was for something called a wellness couples package. When I asked about it, she barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, it's this massage and meditation thing. Some of my clients go there. Good for networking." I almost asked why a networking opportunity needed couples packages. Almost asked who the other half of her couple was. Almost. But I didn't, because asking would have meant I didn't trust her. And I wanted to trust her. God, I wanted to trust her so badly that I made myself believe it. The work trips increased. She'd always traveled some, but it ramped up that winter. 2-3 times a month. Always gave me advance notice. Always left her itinerary on the fridge. Always called to say goodnight to Emma. Everything looked normal. Everything felt wrong. Emma started asking questions I didn't know how to answer. She was 5 then, almost 6, old enough to notice patterns. One night while I was tucking her in, she asked, "Why doesn't Mommy read me stories anymore?" I told her Mommy was working really hard right now, but she loved her very much. Emma thought about that for a minute, then said, "Does Mommy love you too?" I froze. Of course she does. Why would you ask that? Emma shrugged in that way kids do when they know something, but don't have the words for it. She doesn't look at you the same way she looks at her phone. I laughed it off, told her that was silly. But after I turned off her light and went back downstairs, that comment sat in my chest like a stone. Another time, maybe a week later, Emma said something that still haunts me. We were in the car on the way home from school. Jennifer had come home the night before from a supposed 3-day conference in Seattle. Emma was playing with her backpack straps, not looking at me, and she said, "Why does Mommy smell different when she comes home from trips?" I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. "Different how, sweetheart? I don't know, just different, like someone else." I told her it was probably just hotel soap. Different shampoo. Travel does that, but my hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than they needed to. Kids notice things we pretend not to see. That's what I've learned. They don't have the adult ability to rationalize and excuse and explain away. They just notice and they say it out loud. And we tell them they're imagining things because the alternative is terrifying. By March of 2023, I had a mental list of red flags that I was actively choosing to ignore. The phone habits, the gym charges, the constant Richard references, the travel. The way she'd started saying, "I love you," more often. Which I'd thought was sweet until I realized people say that more when they're trying to convince themselves it's still true. The way she'd pull away if I tried to initiate sex, then overcompensate by initiating it herself a few days later, with an enthusiasm that felt performative. I noticed all of it, cataloged it, and did absolutely nothing. Because doing something would have meant rocking the boat, would have meant being the paranoid husband, the controlling one, the guy who can't handle his successful wife having a life outside the home. And I'd spent 10 years learning that the way to make a marriage work was to not rock the boat. But on March 14th, 2023, the boat rocked itself. It was a Saturday. Jennifer had gone out early for what she called a long workout and brunch with the girls. I was home with Emma, doing the usual weekend routine. Made pancakes, helped her with an art project, did some laundry because that's what weekends are for, apparently. I was sorting through the hamper when I found Jennifer's wool coat, the nice one she wore to work. I checked the pockets before washing it, another accountant habit being thorough. And that's when I found it, a hotel key card, plastic, slightly bent, tucked in the inside pocket, the kind that has the hotel name printed on it, the Ashford, a boutique place downtown, maybe 45 minutes from our house. Not near Jennifer's office, not near anything that made sense. I turned it over. On the back, someone had written a room number in pen, 412, and a date, March 11th, 3 days ago. My hands started shaking. I sat down on the laundry room floor, still holding this little piece of plastic, and felt my entire reality tilt sideways. March 11th. That was a Wednesday. Jennifer had called me at 6 p.m. to say she had a late client dinner in the suburbs and was just going to crash at her colleague Brittany's place rather than drive home tired. She'd apologized for missing bedtime with Emma, said she'd make it up to us on the weekend. The Ashford was not in the suburbs. Brittany didn't live anywhere near the Ashford, and you don't get a hotel key card from crashing at a friend's house. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, just staring at this thing, turning it over and over in my hands, trying to think of innocent explanations. Maybe it was from an old work event. Maybe she'd found it in a taxi and forgot to throw it away. Maybe someone had given her the wrong coat at a restaurant and this wasn't even hers. But I knew. On some level, that bypassed all the rational explaining. I knew. I didn't confront her when she got home. Didn't ask about the key card. I put it back in her coat pocket exactly where I'd found it, finished the laundry, and pretended everything was fine. Because I still wasn't ready to know for sure. As long as I didn't ask, I could keep believing there was an explanation. That week was one of the worst of my life, and Jennifer had no idea why. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I'd lie next to her at night, listening to her breathe, wondering where she'd really been on March 11th, wondering if this was the first time or the 100th, wondering if I was losing my mind. Kevin, my best friend since college, noticed something was off. We met for lunch on March 17th, and he asked if I was okay. I said I was fine. He said I looked like I hadn't slept in days. I said it was work stress. Then I just broke. Told him everything. The key card, the gym charges, Richard, all of it. I pulled out my phone and showed him photos I'd taken of our credit card statements, highlighted charges that didn't make sense. 8 different hotels over the past 6 months, all on nights Jennifer had claimed to be working late or staying with friends. Kevin stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "You need to check her phone." I said I couldn't do that. It was a violation of privacy. Kevin laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Daniel, she might be having an affair. Privacy is kind of off the table." I said I didn't want to be that guy, the one who spies on his wife, who goes through her things. Kevin leaned forward, looked me right in the eye, and said, "She already made you that guy. You're just deciding whether to stay in denial about it." On March 20th, I made my choice, or the choice made itself. I'm still not sure which. It was late, past midnight. Jennifer had come home around 11 from another team dinner and gone straight to the shower. I was in bed pretending to read, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it. She came out, got into bed, set her phone on the nightstand, and fell asleep almost immediately. The sleep of someone with a clear conscience or no conscience at all. I waited 30 minutes. 45, until her breathing was deep and even. Then I carefully reached over and picked up her phone. I knew her passcode. It was Emma's birthday, which in retrospect seems almost offensive. Using our daughter's birthday to protect messages about an affair. But I used it and the phone unlocked and my hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. I didn't even have to dig. There was a text chain right there, third from the top, saved under R with a red heart emoji. I opened it. The most recent message was from earlier that evening, around the time Jennifer had texted me that dinner was running late. It said, "Sorry, had to stay later than I thought. Worth it though, you're addictive." The response, "Already counting down to Friday. Same place?" Jennifer's reply, "You know it. I'll tell Daniel it's another work thing. He never asks questions anyway." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Actually punched. Like the air left my body and I couldn't get it back. I scrolled up. The messages went back months, over a year. Mixed in with work stuff were these casual references to hotels, to lunch meetings that were clearly more than lunch, to inside jokes I wasn't part of. One message from January said, "Best birthday gift you could have given me." With a photo attached, I clicked it. It was a lingerie photo. Lingerie I'd never seen Jennifer wear. Lingerie that was probably purchased with our joint credit card. I kept scrolling, my vision starting to blur. There was a message from November 2022. "I can't believe we're doing this, but I can't stop either. You make me feel alive again." Response: "You deserve to feel like this. I'll take care of you." There were logistics messages, meeting times, hotel room numbers, discussions about when Jennifer's husband, me, would be too busy with Emma to notice. One message thread from February was about Valentine's Day. Richard had sent flowers to Jennifer's office. She'd texted him a photo of them. He'd written, "Wish I could have given them to you in person, in bed, but I'll make up for it Friday." I thought I was going to be sick. I put the phone down, went to the bathroom, ran cold water over my face. My reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. I didn't even recognize myself. When I got back to bed, Jennifer was still sleeping peacefully. I picked up her phone again, kept reading. I couldn't stop. There were messages about me. Jennifer complaining that I was too focused on Emma and let myself go. Richard agreeing, telling her she deserved better. There were messages where Jennifer said she didn't know how much longer she could keep pretending at home. Richard saying he wished they could be together openly, but his wife would destroy him in a divorce. His wife. He was married too. This wasn't just Jennifer lying to me. This was two people lying to two families. I checked Jennifer's iPad next. It was on the dresser, also unlocked because she trusted me. The messages synced there too, including ones she'd deleted from her phone. I took screenshots of everything. My accountant brain kicked in, even through the devastation. Document, organize, create a record. By the time I was done, it was 3 a.m. I'd been reading messages for almost 2 hours. My phone's photo library was full of screenshots. I had proof of an affair that had been going on since at least November 2022, possibly earlier. I got maybe 2 hours of sleep. When I woke up, Jennifer was already in the shower, getting ready for work like it was any other Thursday. I made Emma breakfast like it was any other Thursday. Jennifer kissed Emma goodbye, kissed me goodbye, said she'd be home late because of a team meeting. I said, "Okay, see you tonight." As soon as she left, I pulled up our credit card statements on my laptop and started matching dates. Every hotel charge lined up with the night Jennifer had claimed to be working late. Every unexplained expense had a corresponding text message explaining what it was really for, and I realized this had been going on for at least 18 months, maybe longer, over 1.5 years of lying to my face, sleeping in our bed, letting me take care of our daughter while she built a life with someone else. I called Kevin, told him I'd checked her phone, told him what I'd found. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "I'm so sorry, man, but now you know, now you can do something about it." I asked what I was supposed to do, confront her, lawyer up, move out. Kevin said, "First thing, you need to document everything before she realizes you know. Cheaters lie, evidence doesn't." He was right. I spent that entire day while Emma was at school building a case. I created a master spreadsheet, dates, amounts, locations. I matched credit card charges to text messages. I cross-referenced her work calendar with her actual location data. We still had Find My Friends turned on from years ago when we'd set it up for safety. I documented every discrepancy, every lie, every instance where she'd said she was one place but was actually somewhere else. It was methodical, clinical. It helped me not think about the fact that my marriage was ending, that the person I'd built a life with for 10 years was a stranger. By the end of the day, I had 6 months of documented evidence. But I still hadn't confronted her, because once I did, everything would be real. The marriage would be over. Emma's life would change. Everything would blow up. So I waited. One more day, then another, then a week. In early April, Jennifer announced a work conference. Austin, Texas, April 10th through 13th. She'd already booked her flight. She showed me the itinerary, asked if I could handle Emma solo for a few days. I said, of course, no problem. Then I checked her company's public events calendar. No conference in Austin. I checked the tech industry conference database. Nothing in Austin those dates. On April 10th, I tracked her location on Find My Friends. She was at a resort 90 minutes outside our city, not Texas, not anywhere near Texas. I sat in our living room, watching the little dot that represented my wife's location, and felt something shift inside me. It wasn't even anger anymore. It was colder than that, more calculating. She didn't just cheat. She was still cheating, actively, elaborately, with planning and itineraries and lies that required props and paperwork. That's when I started thinking about revenge, not the hot, impulsive kind, the cold, strategic kind, the kind where you don't react, you plan, where you don't tell everyone what happened, you let them discover it themselves in the most devastating way possible. I pulled up the text messages again. Cross-referenced R with Jennifer's work contacts. Found him, Richard Thompson, VP of Marketing, her direct supervisor. Age 44, married to Patricia Thompson, a nurse. 2 kids, ages 10 and 13. I looked at his Facebook profile, saw pictures of his family. Patricia smiling at a barbecue. The kids holding up fish they'd caught on some vacation. Richard with his arm around his wife, both of them squinting into the sun. I thought about Patricia, whether she knew, whether she had suspicions like I'd had, whether someone needed to tell her, but I didn't, not yet, because I was starting to understand something. The more lies Jennifer told, the deeper the hole she dug, and the more devastating it would be when the truth finally came out. So I let her keep lying. I kept tracking, kept documenting every hotel, every charge, every work event that wasn't a work event. By May, I had 10 months of evidence, over 40 hotel stays, thousands of dollars spent on a relationship that wasn't her marriage. I had texts where she complained about me, where she fantasized about a life with Richard, where they made plans for when their marriages ended and they could be together openly. And on May 18th, I decided I was ready to blow it all up, ready to stop being the oblivious husband and become something else. I arranged for Emma to sleep at her grandparents', told Jennifer it was a special treat for Emma, a midweek sleepover. She thought it was sweet, said it would give us a quiet evening together. She even suggested we order Thai food and watch a movie, like we were still a couple who did that, like she hadn't been living a double life for a year and a half. When she walked in that evening, I was sitting at the kitchen table, no TV on, no dinner ordered, just me and printed evidence spread out in front of me. She saw the papers and her face changed, just for a second. Fear, then calculation, then a forced smile. "What's all this?" I said. "Sit down, Jennifer." She sat, slowly, her purse still on her shoulder, like she was ready to run. I said, "I know about the affair. I've known for 2 months. I have everything. The hotels, the texts, the lies. I have dates and amounts and messages where you talk about me like I'm an inconvenience you're waiting to get rid of." Her face went white, then red. Then she tried the angry approach. "You went through my phone? You've been spying on me?" I stayed calm. I'd practiced this. "You've been sleeping with your married boss for 18 months. Let's not talk about violations." She started crying. Actual tears, though I couldn't tell if they were real or tactical. "I can explain. It's not what you think. I was so unhappy. We never connect anymore. You're always with Emma. I felt invisible in my own marriage." I let her talk. Let her blame me for being a good father, for prioritizing our daughter, for not noticing she was fucking her boss because I was too busy keeping our lives running. When she was done, I said, "Are you still sleeping with him?" She hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. No, I ended it weeks ago. I swear. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you, how to fix this. I pulled out my phone, showed her a screenshot from 3 days ago. Her location at the Ashford. The same hotel, the same lies. Her face crumpled. "Daniel," I stood up. "You have until morning to decide where you're going to stay, because you're not staying here. Emma comes home tomorrow afternoon. I want you gone before then. We'll figure out custody and everything else through lawyers. I'm done." She tried to argue, tried to explain, tried to tell me we could work through this. I walked upstairs, locked our bedroom door, heard her crying in the hallway, heard her make phone calls, heard her pack a bag. By 11 p.m., she was gone. Went to her parents' house. I sat in the kitchen until 4 in the morning, thinking about that hotel key card. How something so small could mean everything was a lie. How many times she'd kissed me after being with him. How many I love yous were just routine maintenance. The next day, Emma came home and asked where Mommy was. I told her mommy was staying at grandma's for a little while, that sometimes grown-ups need space to work on things. Emma looked at me with those big 6-year-old eyes and asked if we were getting divorced. I couldn't lie to her. I said we were figuring some stuff out. She said her friend Mia's parents got divorced and now Mia has 2 houses. I said, yeah, it might be like that. Then I made her pancakes and held her while she cried and told her she was loved and nothing was her fault. And I filed that memory away as another thing Jennifer had done, not just cheating on me, but forcing me to explain to our 6-year-old that her family was breaking apart. That was my rock bottom. The day I realized this wasn't just about me being hurt. It was about Emma losing the family she knew, about having to split holidays and explain to other kids why mommy and daddy don't live together anymore. I thought the worst was over. The truth was out. But then Jennifer did something that made the affair look almost forgivable in comparison. She started rewriting history. The first week after she moved out, I started getting messages from mutual friends, casual check-ins that felt carefully worded. Hey man, heard you and Jennifer are taking some space. Hope you're hanging in there. Then more pointed ones. Jennifer mentioned things have been rough for a while. Sorry to hear you guys have been struggling. I didn't respond much, just said we were working through some things. But the messages kept coming, and I started to notice a pattern. Everyone was being sympathetic, but it was the kind of sympathy you give someone who's at fault, like I was the one who'd broken the marriage. By the second week, Kevin forwarded me a text he'd gotten from one of Jennifer's friends. Did you know Daniel was having control issues? Jennifer says he's been tracking her movements and going through her phone. I feel so bad for her. I stared at that message for a full minute. Control issues? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. She'd turned my discovery of her affair into me being controlling. Then Linda called, Jennifer's mom. I thought maybe she was calling to check on Emma or to ask about custody arrangements. Instead, she said, Daniel, Jennifer told us about what you've been going through. Robert and I want you to know we're here if you need someone to talk to. Marriage counseling can really help with these issues. I said carefully, what issues are those? Well, the emotional distance, the control problems. Jennifer says she's been trying to get you to open up for months, but you just shut down. It's understandable, I suppose. Men aren't always good at communicating. I felt something cold settle into my chest. Did Jennifer tell you about Richard? There was a pause. Her boss? What about him? Nothing, never mind. Thanks for calling, Linda. After I hung up, I sat there trying to process it. Jennifer had told her parents I was the problem, emotionally distant, controlling. Meanwhile, the affair wasn't mentioned. Or if it was being framed as my fault for driving her to it. Kevin came over that night. I showed him the messages, told him about Linda's call. He said, you need to tell people the truth. I said, I didn't want to be that guy, the one who airs his dirty laundry, who badmouths his ex to mutual friends. It felt petty. Kevin looked at me like I was insane. Daniel, she's making you out to be the villain, while she's the one who cheated for 18 months. You have to defend yourself. But I didn't. Not yet. Because I'd started to have an idea. What if I just let her talk? Let her build this narrative of me being the cold, controlling husband who drove her away. Let her tell everyone how she was finally finding herself, choosing her happiness, being brave. And then, when she'd committed fully to that story, when everyone had bought into it and she'd painted herself as the hero of her own empowerment journey, I'd drop the evidence. Not online, not publicly. Just to the people who mattered, her family, her employer, Richard's wife. The people who had a right to know the truth and would be most hurt by discovering they'd been lied to. Let her dig her own grave. I'd just be the guy holding the shovel. So that's what I did. I stayed quiet. Didn't defend myself to friends. Didn't correct the narrative. When people gave me sympathetic looks that said, we know you're the problem, I just nodded and changed the subject. And I watched Jennifer's social media transformation in real time. In early June, she posted for the first time in months. A photo of her at the gym, looking radiant. The caption, taking time to rediscover myself. Sometimes you have to choose your own happiness. Grateful for family who support me. It's self-love, growth, embrace change. The comments rolled in. So proud of you. You're glowing. Women supporting women. Takes real strength to choose yourself. Jennifer responded to each one with gratitude. She was eating it up. A few days later, another post. A sunrise photo with a quote about leaving toxic relationships. Not all cages are made of bars. Some are made of expectations and sacrifices that were never appreciated, flying solo and feeling free. That one made me laugh out loud. Expectations and sacrifices. Like I hadn't spent 6 years being primary parent while she built her career. Like I hadn't ignored red flags and rationalized her lies because I wanted to trust her. But I didn't comment, didn't respond. Just screenshotted it and added it to my evidence folder. Every lie, every reframing, every instance of her playing victim, I documented it all. By the end of May, I'd done 2 things. First, I hired a divorce attorney. Her name was Patricia Morgan, and she came highly recommended by a colleague whose divorce had been contentious. I needed someone who'd fight. We met in her office on June 1st. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, with the kind of no-nonsense energy that made me feel like I was in good hands. I brought my blue binder, the one I'd started compiling. Hotel receipts, texts, location data, credit card statements, everything organized chronologically. She paged through it slowly, didn't say anything for several minutes. Then she looked up and said, "Did you used to be a detective?" "Accountant." She actually smiled. That explains it. This is the most thoroughly documented case I've seen in 20 years. Most people bring me vague suspicions and maybe a suspicious credit card charge. You've brought me a prosecutable case. I asked if that was good. She said it was very good. For custody, for asset division, for establishing grounds. Then she asked the harder question. "What do you want out of this divorce?" I said I wanted primary custody of Emma. I wanted the house. I wanted Jennifer to face some kind of consequence for blowing up our family. Patricia nodded. The first 2 are very possible given this evidence. The third one, that's trickier. Courts don't really care about affairs unless they directly impact the child. But in the court of public opinion, with the right strategy, consequences can happen there. I asked what kind of strategy. She said, "You keep being the good guy, the stable parent, the one who doesn't badmouth their ex publicly. And when the time comes, in mediation, in custody hearings, you present the facts, calmly, thoroughly. Let the facts speak for themselves." Second thing I did was research. Jennifer worked for a tech company called Innovate Solutions. Medium-sized, maybe 300 employees. They had a public ethics policy on their website, probably for investor relations. I read it carefully. Section 4.3. Romantic or sexual relationships between supervisors and their direct reports must be disclosed to human resources within 10 business days of the relationship commencing. Failure to disclose may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Section 581. Company resources, including but not limited to corporate credit cards, office facilities, and work travel, must be used solely for legitimate business purposes. Personal use of company resources may result in immediate termination. I pulled up Richard's LinkedIn. He'd been at the company for 6 years, decorated veteran of the marketing world, multiple industry awards, very public figure in the local tech scene. Then I did some digging through Jennifer's texts that mentioned client site visits, cross-referenced them with her company's public announcements. 3 of those trips were to cities where the company had no clients. The hotels were charged to Richard's corporate card. The company had paid for their affair. That wasn't just an ethics violation. That was fraud. I sat back in my chair and thought about Patricia Thompson, Richard's wife, whether she knew, whether someone needed to tell her. Kevin thought I was crazy when I told him my plan. We were at a bar. His idea said I needed to get out of the house. Emma was with Jennifer for her first overnight visit since the separation. "Let me get this straight," Kevin said. "You're going to wait months, just sit on all this evidence, while she tells everyone you're an asshole. And then you're going to drop it all at once?" I said yes. He asked why. I told him because the longer she lied, the worse it would be when the truth came out. The more she committed to this empowered woman leaving toxic marriage narrative, the harder she'd fall when people realized it was all built on an affair. Kevin shook his head. "I don't know if that's brilliant or insane. Maybe both. What if she turns Emma against you in the meantime?" That was my one fear, but Jennifer wasn't particularly interested in being primary parent. She'd already agreed to custody arrangement where Emma stayed with me during the week, went to Jennifer's alternate weekends. She was too busy rebuilding her independent woman brand to fight for more custody. June bled into July, then August. I maintained perfect normalcy, took care of Emma, excelled at work, started going to therapy. A guy named Dr. Phillips who specialized in betrayal trauma. He helped me process the anger without becoming bitter. Helped me understand that Jennifer's choices weren't about me being inadequate. They were about her being selfish. I also started going to the gym, Kevin's idea. Said I needed physical outlets for the stress. Turned out he was right. There's something clarifying about lifting heavy things when your life is falling apart. People started commenting on how well I was handling everything. Daniel's being so mature about the separation. It's impressive how he's putting Emma first. Jennifer heard these comments through mutual friends. She told people, "I think Daniel's finally giving me the space I needed. Maybe we can eventually co-parent well once he works through his issues." His issues. I added that to my list. Meanwhile, I kept tracking. Jennifer was still seeing Richard. Same hotels, same patterns. I'd find my friends periodically. She still hadn't thought to turn off location sharing, and see her at the Ashford on nights she told Emma she was working late on a big project. The affair hadn't ended. She'd just gotten better at hiding it from me. But she'd forgotten I had access to everything else. The credit card, the location data, the cloud backup of her messages. In late August, Jennifer posted another Instagram update. This one was a photo of her at some wellness retreat. Yoga pose at sunrise. Caption, "Learning to love myself first." The journey isn't easy, but it's worth it. Grateful for this chance to heal and grow. Sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same. Self-care, das, transformation, new beginnings. The comments were effusive. Dozens of people supporting her journey, telling her how brave she was, how inspiring. I wondered how many of them knew she was posting that from a wellness retreat she'd taken with her married boss. How many knew the healing she was talking about was actually just continuing the affair while rebranding it as personal growth? I screenshotted it, added it to the folder. By September, Patricia Morgan called to tell me mediation was scheduled. Jennifer's lawyer had pushed for it as a good faith effort to settle custody and assets without court. The session was set for September 22nd. Both sets of parents would be there, Jennifer had insisted. Said she wanted family support as we worked through this difficult time. I agreed immediately. That was exactly what I wanted. The night before mediation, I finalized my plan. I'd been building to this for months, 3 precise strikes, all within 48 hours. First, anonymous tip to Jennifer's HR department. I drafted an email with a fake account, professional, detailed, unemotional. Subject line, ethics violation report. Undisclosed supervisor, subordinate relationship, plus misuse of company resources. Attached, a 47-page PDF with timeline, hotel receipts, work calendar versus actual locations, company credit card charges, policy violations highlighted. I scheduled it to send at 9 a.m. on September 22nd. Second, package to Patricia Thompson, Richard's wife. I printed key documents, hotels, dates, amounts, screenshots of texts, nothing explicit, just enough to prove the affair and its duration. I included a note on plain paper. "I'm sorry to send this. You deserve to know the truth. These are just copies. I have more if you need them for your own divorce. A fellow betrayed spouse." I dropped it at a FedEx for morning delivery on the 22nd. Third, the mediation. I'd made a second blue binder, 142 pages, every hotel stay, every lie, every dollar spent, every text where Jennifer complained about me to justify her affair, every social media post where she played victim, everything organized, chronological, indexed. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Jennifer wanted to use the mediation to paint me as the problem in front of her parents. She'd probably spend 40 minutes talking about my emotional unavailability, my control issues, how she'd been brave enough to choose herself. I'd let her commit fully to that story in front of her parents, my parents, the mediator. Let her dig that hole as deep as possible. Then I'd slide the binder across the table and watch her world collapse. Kevin came over that night. We ordered pizza, didn't talk much. He asked if I was ready. I said I'd been ready for 5 months. He said, "You know there's no going back after tomorrow, right? Once you do this, it's scorched earth." I said I knew. I'd made my peace with it. This wasn't about getting Jennifer back. This wasn't even really about revenge. It was about the truth. About her parents knowing what their daughter had done. About Richard's wife getting to make an informed decision about her marriage. About Jennifer's employer knowing they had executives violating ethics policies. I'd spent 5 months letting Jennifer tell her story. Tomorrow, the truth would tell mine. I went to bed early because the next day wasn't about anger. It was about precision. And I wanted to be rested for it. The email went out at exactly 9 a.m. I'd set it on scheduled send, so even though I was in my car driving to the mediation office, I got the automated confirmation that it had delivered. The recipient was Sarah Chen, Director of Human Resources at Innovate Solutions. I pictured her opening it, reading the subject line, downloading the PDF, her face changing as she scrolled through page after page of documented violations. I texted Kevin. It started. He texted back, "No turning back now. Good luck." According to what I learned later, through a friend who knew someone in Jennifer's company, Sarah Chen called an emergency meeting within 30 minutes. Got the VP of HR involved, got legal involved. By 10 a.m., Richard was being called into a conference room. He walked in confused, probably thinking it was about the Q4 budget or some strategic initiative. Instead, he found 3 people in suits and a printed copy of my report. "Mr. Thompson, we've received detailed allegations of an undisclosed romantic relationship with a direct report, Jennifer Martinez. Can you confirm whether this is accurate?" Richard tried to deny it, then minimize it. "It was brief, months ago. It's over now." But they had the evidence, hotel charges from last week on his corporate card, dates spanning 18 months. He went pale. While that was happening, the FedEx truck was delivering my package to Patricia Thompson. She was home, a nurse who worked night shifts, so she was usually home during the day. She signed for it, opened it at her kitchen table. I imagine her sitting there, reading through the documents, seeing hotel names, dates that corresponded with nights Richard claimed to be at conferences, seeing the amounts charged, reading the note. She called Richard immediately. His phone was in the HR conference room, silenced. It went to voicemail. She called again, and again. By the time Richard got out of that meeting, suspended pending investigation, his phone showed 23 missed calls from his wife. Jennifer was at her desk when she got the Slack message at 11 a.m. "Please come to conference room C immediately. HR matter." She probably thought it was something routine, some mandatory training or policy update. She walked in to find Sarah Chen and another HR rep, both stone-faced. "Ms. Martinez, we need to discuss your relationship with Richard Thompson." Jennifer tried to deflect. "We're colleagues. He's my boss. What about our relationship?" "We have evidence of an ongoing romantic and sexual relationship spanning approximately 18 months. This is a serious violation of our ethics policy regarding supervisor-subordinate relationships." Jennifer's face went through rapid changes: shock, panic, anger. "Who told you this? That's not relevant. What is relevant is whether these allegations are accurate." From what I heard later, Jennifer held out for maybe 10 minutes, tried to deny it. But they had everything: the hotels, the texts, the travel that didn't match company records. Eventually she admitted it, but tried to minimize. Said it had ended months ago. They showed her credit card charges from last week. She realized in that moment, it was me. It had to be me. She tried to call me 8 times while she was still in the HR office. I didn't answer. I was pulling into the parking lot of the mediation office. I looked at my phone, saw her calls coming through, and silenced it. She texted, "What did you do?" I responded once. "I told the truth. See you at mediation at 2. Her, "You sent that to my HR, to Patricia?" Me, no response. I put my phone in my pocket and walked into the building. The mediation office was in one of those professional buildings that house therapists and accountants. Neutral territory. I'd arrived 15 minutes early. The mediator, Janet Reed, was a licensed family therapist who specialized in high-conflict divorces. I'd met with her once before. She was good at staying neutral, which I appreciated. By 2 p.m., everyone was there except Jennifer. Both sets of parents. My dad, quiet and supportive as always. My mom, who'd been making me casseroles and checking on Emma constantly. Robert and Linda, Jennifer's parents, who looked uncomfortable but determined. They still thought this was about me being the problem. Jennifer rushed in at 2:10, clearly flustered. Her eyes were red. She'd been crying. Her parents immediately went to her. "Honey, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Sorry I'm late. Work thing." We all sat down around a conference table. Janet started with her usual spiel about keeping things civil, focused on Emma's best interests, finding common ground. Then she turned to Jennifer. "You requested this session to discuss custody arrangements and to address some concerns you have about co-parenting dynamics. Would you like to start?" Jennifer took a breath, composed herself, and launched into her speech. For 40 minutes she talked about how she'd felt unheard in our marriage for years, how I'd become increasingly focused on Emma to the exclusion of our relationship, how she'd tried to communicate her needs but I'd shut down every time, how she'd finally reached a breaking point and realized she needed to choose herself, choose her own happiness, even though it meant disrupting our family. She cried a little, talked about how hard it had been to make the decision to leave, how she'd been working on herself, going to therapy, learning to set boundaries, how she hoped we could co-parent in a healthy way. But she needed me to understand that Emma deserved to see her mom being authentic and strong, not trapped in an unfulfilling relationship. She looked at her parents when she said that last part. They nodded supportively. Linda was tearing up. Jennifer kept going, talked about how she hoped I'd use this time to work on my own issues, how, maybe with therapy and some personal growth, I could become a better co-parent, how she believed in my capacity to change if I just opened myself up to it. It was a masterful performance. She'd positioned herself as the brave one, the one who'd had the courage to leave an unhealthy marriage. She'd made me the project, the fixer-upper who just needed the right therapeutic intervention to become a decent human being. Everyone was looking at me when she finished, expecting me to argue, maybe, or apologize, or ask for another chance. Janet Reed said, "Daniel, would you like to respond?" I reached into my briefcase and pulled out the blue binder, set it on the table, slid it to the center so everyone could see it. I said, "This is a timeline of Jennifer's affair with her boss, Richard Thompson. It started in November 2022 and continued until approximately 10 a.m. this morning, when he was placed on administrative leave from their company. The affair is documented across 142 pages, 47 hotel stays, approximately $8,700 in joint marital funds spent on hotels, gifts, and lingerie for him. Over 300 deleted text messages I recovered from cloud backup, and evidence that the affair continued after our separation, while Jennifer was telling everyone in this room that I was the problem. The room went silent. Linda reached for the binder, opened it. The first page was an executive summary I'd written, dates, locations, amounts. The second page was a printout of Jennifer and Richard's text exchange from March. "Tell Daniel it's another late project. I already booked us the suite." Linda read the text aloud. Her voice shook. "Tell Daniel it's another late project. This is from Richard. To you." Jennifer started crying. "Mom." Robert reached over and took the binder from his wife, started flipping through pages. His face got redder with each page. "You lied to us. We've been consoling you for months, supporting you, being disappointed in Daniel, and this whole time you were—" "I didn't lie. I was unhappy. Daniel drove me to—" I cut her off. My voice was calm, steady. "I'd practiced this. I drove you to nothing. You made a choice. For 18 months, you made that choice every single day. You chose to spend our money on hotels with your boss. You chose to lie to Emma about where you were. You chose to tell everyone that I was emotionally distant while you were emotionally involved with someone else. And after I confronted you, you chose to continue the affair while rewriting history to make yourself the victim." Linda was crying now, full tears. "How long did you know?" "Since March. I found a hotel key card in Jennifer's coat pocket. I've known for 6 months." "And you stayed quiet while Jennifer told us you were the problem?" "Yes. Because I wanted to give her the chance to tell you the truth herself. I thought maybe, if she felt guilty enough, she'd be honest with you, but she never was." Robert looked at his daughter. "Is this true? All of it?" Jennifer couldn't even look at him. She was sobbing now, makeup running. It's more complicated than he's making it sound. I was lonely. You don't understand what it was like. Daniel was never there emotionally. I felt invisible in my own marriage. I said, I was there. I was home with Emma every night while you were at hotels. I was making dinner and doing laundry and helping with homework while you were building a secret life. You weren't lonely, you were selfish. My mom, who'd been silent this whole time, said quietly, Did you really tell people Daniel was controlling? Jennifer didn't answer. Janet Reed, the mediator, looked overwhelmed. I think we need to take a break. This is clearly more complex than anticipated. But Linda wasn't done. She was still reading through the binder. She got to a page of Instagram screenshots, Jennifer's self-love journey posts. Next to them, I'd placed the corresponding dates and locations, proving she'd been with Richard when she posted them. Linda said, This post, about choosing yourself and healing. You wrote this from a wellness retreat? Yes. Were you alone at that retreat? Silence. Jennifer, were you alone? No. Richard was there? Yes. Linda closed the binder, looked at her daughter like she didn't recognize her. I need some air. She got up and left the room. Robert followed her after a moment. My parents sat quietly. My mom reached over and squeezed my hand. My dad looked at Jennifer and said, You put him through hell, made us think he was failing you. I hope it was worth it. Then they got up and left too. It was just me, Jennifer, and Janet Reed. Jennifer was still crying. Janet looked like she wanted to be anywhere but here. She said, I think we need to reschedule this for another time, after everyone has had a chance to process. I stood up. I'll be happy to resume mediation whenever Jennifer is ready. But just so everyone's clear, I have primary custody now, and I intend to keep it. I have documentation of every missed visit, every time Jennifer chose the affair over her daughter. I'm willing to work out a custody arrangement that's fair to Emma, but I'm done accommodating lies. I left the binder on the table, walked out to my car, sat there for a minute, hands shaking from adrenaline. My phone buzzed. Kevin, how did it go? Me. The bomb dropped. Kevin. And me. I'll call you later. I need to pick up Emma. I drove to Emma's school, picked her up from aftercare. She was happy, showed me a painting she'd made. We drove home, and I made her favorite dinner, mac and cheese from scratch, not the box kind, and helped her with homework, normal routine, normal life. She asked once, Was Mommy at that meeting today? I said yes. She asked if I was sad. I said no, actually, I wasn't sad. I was tired, but not sad. Later that night, after Emma was asleep, I sat in my living room and let myself feel it, the relief, the exhaustion, the weird guilt that was creeping in despite everything. I'd done what I set out to do. I'd let Jennifer build her narrative and then demolished it with facts. But I'd also just destroyed her relationships with her parents, torpedoed her career, and blown up Richard's marriage in the process. My phone rang. Linda. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Daniel, I owe you an apology, a massive one. Robert and we believed her. We should have asked more questions, should have talked to you. I'm so sorry. I told her it was okay. She said it wasn't. She asked if I'd really known for 6 months. I said yes. She asked why I hadn't told her sooner. Because I wanted Jennifer to tell you herself. I thought if I gave her enough time, enough space, she'd do the right thing. But she never did. Linda was quiet for a moment. She's still our daughter. We still love her. But I don't know who she is right now. The person who could do this? It's not the girl we raised. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about that. It's not the girl we raised. Maybe not. Or maybe it was, and they just hadn't wanted to see it. Over the next week, the dominoes fell faster than I'd anticipated. Jennifer was called back to HR on September 23rd. The investigation had moved quickly. They'd confirmed the ethics violation. Jennifer had admitted the affair under questioning. She wasn't terminated, but the consequences were severe. Formal reprimand in her permanent file. Passed over for the VP promotion she'd been in line for. It went to someone else. Transferred laterally to a different department. Effectively stalling her career progression. Required to attend mandatory ethics training. Richard had it worse. Terminated for cause. Superior in the relationship. Misuse of company resources. Violation of ethics policy. He lost his severance package. His professional reputation in the local tech scene was damaged. No one wanted to hire the executive who'd been fired for sleeping with his subordinate and charging hotels to the company card. Patricia filed for divorce immediately. Her Facebook post was vague but damning. Sometimes you think you know someone for 15 years, and then you find out everything was a lie. Filing for divorce and moving forward with my kids. We deserve better. People figured out who she was talking about. Started putting pieces together. Jennifer's name came up in comments. Someone from Richard's company anonymously posted details on a local Reddit board. It spread. Jennifer's carefully curated Instagram transformation got torpedoed. People who had been commenting, "So proud of you," and "You're so brave," started quietly unfollowing. Some left comments asking if the rumors were true. Jennifer deleted her accounts entirely. Her social circles split. Some friends ghosted her completely. Others tried to stay neutral but distanced themselves. One friend, Bryn, who'd been part of Jennifer's support system, called me to apologize. Said she felt like an idiot for believing Jennifer's version without asking questions. Jennifer moved out of her parents' house into her own apartment. Linda told me later they'd suggested she get some space. Code for, "We can't look at you right now." By mid-October, the consequences were still rolling in. Richard's divorce was proceeding. Patricia got primary custody of their kids. He had to sell the house to split assets. Jennifer's sister, Michelle, called me to apologize for believing the narrative. Said she wished she'd reached out to me sooner. But the worst consequence, the one that made me start questioning whether I'd gone too far, came in the form of a phone call from Linda in mid-October. "Daniel, I'm worried about Jennifer. She's not doing well. She had a panic attack at work. They sent her home. She's seeing a therapist now, but I'm scared. I don't know what she's thinking, what she might do." I felt my stomach drop. "Is she safe?" "I don't know. She won't talk to me, won't talk to her father. She's isolated herself completely. I know what she did was terrible. I'm not asking you to forgive her or take her back. I'm scared, Daniel." After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. She'd blown up 2 families, lied to everyone, destroyed her own credibility. She deserved consequences. But part of me felt sick. I'd wanted accountability, not destruction. I'd wanted people to know the truth, not to watch Jennifer spiral into panic attacks and isolation. I called Kevin that night, told him about Linda's call. He asked if I felt guilty. "Yeah, a little. Is that crazy?" "No, man. It's human. But you didn't give her panic attacks. Her choices did. You just stopped letting her lie about them." I sent it to her HR, to Patricia. I put all of that in motion. What did you think would happen when the truth came out? That everyone would just nod and move on? Truth has consequences. That's the point. I said I thought I'd feel better than this, more satisfied. Instead, I just felt tired. Kevin said, "That's because you're a good person. Bad people don't feel guilty when consequences are harsh. You do because you have empathy. But empathy doesn't mean you were wrong." A few days later, Emma asked me why Mommy seemed sad during their last visit. I told her Mommy was going through some tough stuff. Emma asked if I made Mommy sad. The question gutted me. "No, sweetheart. Mommy made some choices that have been hard for everyone. But none of this is your fault, and none of it is because of you. Mommy and I both love you so much." But I sat with that question for days. Did I make Jennifer sad? Technically, yes, but only by revealing what she'd done. Would it have been better to let her keep lying? I brought it up in my next therapy session with Dr. Phillips, told him about the panic attacks, the isolation, Linda's fear. He asked me a simple question. "What did you do that was cruel?" I exposed her affair to her job, to her parents, to Richard's wife. "Did you lie about anything?" "No." "Did you embellish or exaggerate?" "No, everything in that binder was documented fact." "Then you didn't do anything cruel. You held her accountable. There's a difference between cruelty and consequence." But I still struggled with it, with the knowledge that my actions, even justified actions, had caused someone to have panic attacks. That Jennifer was probably lying in bed at night, unable to sleep, replaying everything. That her life had imploded because I'd decided the truth mattered more than keeping peace. Dr. Phillips said, "You're struggling because you're not a vengeful person. You didn't do this to hurt her. You did it to stop her from hurting you. But sometimes those things overlap. and that's hard for people with empathy to reconcile. In late October, Jennifer asked to meet. First direct contact that wasn't through lawyers in weeks. She texted, "Can we talk? Just us. I need to say something." I agreed, but told Kevin first. He said he'd wait outside the coffee shop, just in case. We met at a neutral place, not our old spots. When Jennifer walked in, she looked exhausted, thinner, older somehow. We sat down. She said, "I'm not here to ask you to forgive me, or take me back, or anything like that. I just need to say this for my own sanity." I waited. "You were right, about everything. I rewrote history. I made you the villain because it was easier than admitting what I'd done. And when you exposed that, I lost everything. My career trajectory is dead. My parents barely speak to me. I lost half my friends. Richard," she laughed bitterly. "Richard doesn't even acknowledge me anymore. Acts like I don't exist when we pass in the halls at work. Why are you telling me this? Because my therapist asked me who I owe the biggest apology to, and it's you. You didn't deserve the affair. You didn't deserve the gaslighting. You didn't deserve me telling everyone you were the problem when I was the one destroying our family. I was selfish and cowardly, and I made you pay for my choices." I said, "Thank you for saying that. Does it help? Honestly, a little, but it doesn't change anything. I know, I just needed you to know that I know how badly I fucked up, that it wasn't your fault, none of it." After she left, I sat there for a while. Kevin came in, asked how it went. I said she apologized. He asked if I believed her. I said I thought so, but it didn't matter. The real question was whether I felt better now, and I didn't. I felt empty, like I'd won a war but lost something in the process. Maybe it was innocence. Maybe it was the person I'd been before all this, the one who believed that if you just loved someone enough, tried hard enough, things would work out. By January 2024, the divorce was finalized. I got primary custody of Emma. Jennifer hadn't even fought it much. Assets split 50-50. I kept the house and refinanced to buy out her share. She paid child support. The lawyers worked out a schedule, alternating weekends, Wednesday dinners, split holidays. When I signed the papers, I felt relief. Not triumph, not satisfaction, just relief that it was over. Emma adjusted. Kids are resilient in ways adults aren't. And she stopped asking why mommy left and started accepting that this was her life now. 2 houses, 2 bedrooms, 2 different routines. She seemed okay mostly. Sometimes she'd get quiet and I'd know she was missing the before times. But she never blamed me, which I was grateful for. I kept going to therapy, kept going to the gym, lost about 15 pounds without trying, started reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during the marriage, took Emma on weekend adventures, hiking, museums, the zoo, built a life that was smaller but felt more real. In March, at one of Emma's soccer games, I met another parent. Rachel, 36, divorced 2 years, daughter on Emma's team. We chatted on the sidelines over several weeks, normal parent small talk. Then one day she asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I was surprised, hesitant. I said I'd gone through a rough divorce recently. She said she understood. She'd been there. We met for coffee the next weekend. Without the kids. The conversation flowed. She was easy to talk to, funny, smart. She told me about her divorce. Amicable, they just wanted different things. No drama. I appreciated that she wasn't bitter, that she could talk about her ex without venom. I told her a little about mine, kept it brief. Said my ex had an affair. It was brutal, but I was through the worst of it. Rachel said I seemed like I was in a good place. I said I was getting there. We saw each other again. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became a museum date. By May, we were in something that looked like a relationship. I introduced her to Kevin after a month. He approved immediately. She seems normal, like actually normal. I didn't introduce Rachel to Emma right away. Wanted to make sure this was serious first. But by August, it felt right. We did a casual thing. Both families at the park. The girls got along. Emma asked later if Rachel was my girlfriend. I said yes, if that was okay with her. Emma thought about it and said, "She's nice. Does she know how to make pancakes?" By fall, my life had become something I didn't recognize but didn't hate. I had Emma most of the time. I had a job I was good at, got promoted to senior manager in July. I had a relationship with someone who actually communicated and didn't keep secrets. I had friends, hobbies, routines that felt healthy instead of just functional. Jennifer stabilized too, from what I heard. Still working at the same company, different department. Dating someone new, more consistent with Emma's visits. Her relationship with her parents improved gradually, though it would never be what it was before. She'd lost friends permanently, but built a smaller circle. I stopped checking her social media, stopped wondering what people were saying, stopped replaying the affair in my head at night. The anger faded into something duller, easier to live with. That's what healing looked like, I guess. Not fireworks or epiphanies, just one day realizing you'd stopped thinking about it without noticing. It's been 18 months since I dropped that blue binder on the mediation table. People still ask if I regret how I handled it. The truth? No, I don't regret telling the truth, but I don't celebrate it either. Jennifer's consequences were harsh. Some she earned through her choices. Some were just natural results of lies catching up. I didn't destroy her. I just stopped protecting her from reality. What I learned through all of this is that you can't control how people see you. Jennifer spent months making me the villain, and for a while it worked. But truth has weight. It's patient. It doesn't need to shout. It just needs to show up. These days, I don't think about the affair much. When I do, it's not with rage. It's more like looking at a scar that's healed. It's part of my story, but it doesn't define me anymore. Last week we had Emma's 7th birthday party in our backyard. Rachel helped set up. Kevin was there with his girlfriend. Even Jennifer came for 30 minutes and was polite to everyone. I watched Emma blow out her candles, surrounded by people who actually know me, and thought about how far I'd come. I let Jennifer tell her story for as long as she needed to. 5 months of being the villain while she played hero. 5 months of watching her lie to everyone we knew. And when it was time, I let the truth tell mine. Turns out, that was enough. Emma ran up to me with frosting smeared on her face, grinning. "Dad, can we do presents now?" I smiled down at my daughter, this person who'd been my anchor through everything, and said, "Yeah, sweetheart, let's do presents."